Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a review on the Rimmel Match Perfection Foundation. I'm sorry if I sound really ill, it really hurts to talk, I've got a sore throat and I'm starting to get a bit blocked up, but luckily it's come after Christmas, not before. I always get ill just as Christmas hits, like the week before, and it's usually just going off just as Christmas hits, but luckily this year I managed to completely evade it, but it's got me after Christmas instead. Hopefully my voice is still bearable enough for you guys to listen to, so let's just jump straight into the video. So the Rimmel Match Perfection Foundation says it is a light perfecting radiance foundation. On the back it says, traceless coverage foundation with advanced smart tone technology for perfectly flawless skin under any light, enhanced with sapphire radiance for an illuminating glow, lasts all day. It also says it has an SPF of 18 and I am in the shade 103 True Ivory. So as always, I'm going to prime one half of my face so you guys can see how it lasts throughout the day with and without primer, and I'm going to be using the Max Factor Face Finity All Day Primer. So I'm just going to pop a small pump of this on this half of my face. Okay, so I'm going to start off by pumping one pump out onto my little palette, just because I'm not sure exactly how much I need to use. And to apply it, I'm going to be using the Real Techniques buffing brush because this is my favourite foundation brush. So I'm just going to stipple the brush into the product first. If you guys want to see a more in-depth video of how I put on my foundation, or like my flawless foundation routine, I'll link it down below because I did that quite recently and I go like really in depth into how I do my base. So I'll start on the non-primed side, and I'll just start by buffing this onto my cheek, and actually the colour is pretty good. I think it matches really well. So I'm going to make sure to take it underneath my chin. So I've just blended out this first cheek area here, and so far it seems really nice. It's really easy to blend. It's not kind of too thick or too thin. It blends in really well, and it seems to have relatively good coverage. Like you can see between my two cheeks, I do have a bit of redness on my cheeks. I don't know if it's picking up on camera, but usually I do have to go in with like a second layer because the first layer never really takes away the redness, but this has seemed to calm it down quite a lot, and it was quite a thin layer that I applied as well. As I said, the colour is really good. There's quite a few colours in this range actually, which is good, so there's probably going to be one that matches you. So I'll go onto this cheek now. This is the primed side, so we'll see if this applies any better than the other side. It doesn't seem to be gliding on any different. Usually with a primer it seems to sort of glide on a bit better, but there doesn't seem to be too much difference in the application between the primed side and the non-primed side. And now I will do the last little bit across my forehead and a little bit down my nose as well. Okay, so here is one layer of the foundation applied. It's gone on really nice. It glides on really well, buffs in really nicely. You have kind of no difficulty applying it or working it into the skin. The colour match is pretty good. I mean, after the full face application, it does look a tiny bit off in this light. I think it's because my face at the minute's been so pink, and I really don't know why. I'm never ever pink, but at the minute I am. Differences between the primed and unprimed side, again, like I said earlier, application wise there's sort of no difference. It goes on relatively the same, and maybe it's just this light, maybe it's the way I'm looking at it, but for the first time ever that I've done a first impression on a foundation using like half primed, half non-primed, I think I actually prefer the non-primed side. I don't know why. It actually seems to have slightly better coverage. It's covered up my cheek a bit here. You can still see some of the redness in this area here, and it seems to kind of like flawlessly buffed out the imperfections on this side of my face, whereas on this side of my face it seems to sort of settled into a couple of lines, and it doesn't just kind of like seem as like airbrushed as the non-primed side, but that just might be the lighting, so I'll see how it wears throughout the day and I can make a proper decision later on. But I think I'm going to go ahead and maybe put a second layer of foundation on, not across my entire face because I don't need the coverage across my entire face, but I think I might just dot a little bit extra just onto both of my cheeks. and then we'll see how the coverage wears throughout the day as well. Okay, so there is the second layer applied across my cheeks. Definitely gives it a little bit extra coverage. You can't see any redness on this side now at all. Maybe a tiny bit shining through on this side, but it's not too noticeable. It'll get covered up once I go in with like concealer and powder and that kind of thing. But yeah, overall so far the finish as it's first applied is really nice. It's got a slight tacky finish, but nothing too bad, nothing like unbearable or anything like that. The coverage is pretty good. It's not super full on, like it's not a complete mask. It doesn't hide all of my imperfections, but I would say it is a good medium coverage foundation. It does cover well, but it's not cakey or heavy or anything like that. I have dry skin, as I said earlier. I have super dry skin at the moment, but this foundation is still nice and glowy. It's not too like bam in your face beamy glowy, but I do have a nice shine on the tops of my cheekbones and that kind of thing. It does have like a nice luminous look. It's not super matte. I'm going to go ahead and apply the rest of my base, my concealer and my powder, so you guys can see how all the products apply on top of this foundation. So there we go, that is my base applied. The concealer went on really nice and smoothly. I didn't have any problem blending that out with the foundation. It went on really nicely, and the powder as well settled really nicely under my eyes and around my face. It hasn't taken away too much of that glow, but it has set it nicely in place now. It's not got that tacky feeling anymore. And so yeah, it's gone on really nicely, and I will check in with you guys in a couple of hours. I will go and apply the rest of my makeup now, and I'll check back in a few hours to let you know how the rest of my makeup applied on top, and then also how it's wearing throughout the day as well. Hey guys, I am back, and it is now 3:30. I forgot to mention what time it was when I left you earlier, and I finished applying the foundation at 12 o'clock, so it's now been on for 3.5 hours. I'm sorry about the lighting, it's awful, but even though it's only 3:30, it is winter in England, so it is incredibly dark. But so far, the foundation has lasted really nicely. The rest of my makeup applied flawlessly over top. My contour and my blush and that kind of thing didn't drag across my skin. It didn't accentuate any kind of like fine lines or anything like that, so that's really good. It has gone slightly more matte as the day has gone on. It's not super matte, I still have a slight glow, but it's not quite as dewy as when I first applied it this morning. The coverage is still really good. It hasn't worn off in any areas. The only place I would say it's maybe worn off slightly is around this area in my nose here, but that's because, as always, I wear my glasses throughout the day, so it does start to wear off and I get a little line across my nose, but even that is not too bad, maybe just slightly pink. And then maybe slightly around my chin, but I do touch my face a lot during the day, so that's probably the only reason for that. Other than that, it still looks really flawless. It hasn't kind of grabbed onto any dry areas in my skin. It still looks very airbrushed. And the difference between the primed and unprimed side is hardly noticeable. My skin, I feel, on the areas with just the foundation, I feel look slightly more flawless and airbrushed on the non-primed side. But my highlighter and blusher and contour has lasted better on the prime side than the non-prime side. I don't know if you can see on camera, but my contour is still there, my blush and my highlight you can still see has got like a nice shine to it, whereas on this side it has died down quite a lot. So hopefully I'll be able to come back in another couple of hours before I wash all this makeup off to give you guys an update on how it kind of wears throughout the entire day. Okay guys, so I am back for my final update, and it is now bang on 7 o'clock in the evening. So I've been wearing this foundation now for 7 hours, which I think is a good amount of wear. So overall the wear has been pretty good. The coverage is still very good. It has worn off in some areas like on my chin and even more so on my nose, but as I said earlier, it's because I like to touch my face a lot and because of my glasses. The only other places that I don't really touch that has sort of dried up and cracked and that kind of thing is just around my nose here. I do usually get that with most foundations, but this does seem to have dried slightly around my nose and caked up a little bit. But the coverage around my hairline is still pretty good. Usually it does start to wear off around these areas here. I have gone slightly shiny on my forehead, but it's not too bad, nothing that I couldn't touch with a powder or anything like that. My contour and bronzer and that kind of thing on my cheeks hasn't worn off completely. It's not a complete muddy mess. It's not quite as structured as it was obviously when I first applied this morning, but I could expect it to do worse, so that's pretty good as well. Looking back now, the side of my face I prefer probably is the primed side, maybe. I think this was the primed side. Whichever side this was, this is the side that I prefer. Although I'd probably say that my blusher and my highlight has lasted slightly better on this side of my face, I just feel that my skin looks slightly more flawless and still covered on this side of my face. You can see under this kind of like area here, it's still looking quite like airbrush, whereas on this side you're starting to see kind of like my pores coming through and the redness around my nose and that kind of thing. But yeah, overall for 7 hours of wear, I think this is pretty good. I think it would be good for dry or oily skin. Personally, like I said, I have dry skin, and even though it was slightly luminous, it wasn't too luminous, so I think the oilier skins could use this foundation, and if you're super oily, maybe use it in combination with a mattifying primer or powder or that kind of thing. So yeah, I will definitely be using this foundation in more of my tutorials coming up soon. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review of the Rimmel Match Perfection Foundation. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up, it really helps me out. And as I say at the end of every video, please subscribe if you want to see more from me here on my channel. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!